Johnson are all critically important. I talk to them all the time on trying to move forward. And again, this bill will introduce, this proposal on Monday, will reflect a lot of what those conversations have produced over the last several weeks. Take a few more questions.
What kind of message does it send to consumers into Wall Street that 2 years after Lehman Brothers, lawmakers are still loggerheads over how to do this?
Well, look, my hope is, again, we're not just dealing with one issue here. We're dealing with a set of issues that have gone, frankly, unattended for almost 80 years. You go back to the 1930s, since the last time there's been any major effort to reform the financial services sector. We're not going to deal with every issue involved in the financial services sector, but major issues. Too big to fail. $700 billion is what the American taxpayer had to write a check for. I'm determined before this Congress ends, we're going to close that door and close it forever. That may be the single most important thing we do in this bill. Making sure we can either regulate or provide the transparency or the accountability of exotic instruments that contributed so much to the economic troubles we're in today. We need to fix that. We're getting close to doing it. We need to have the ability to look over and see what's going on in our economy. The idea that no one saw this coming, I don't buy. But the idea of having a council in place that will allow us to make those determinations are critically important. And giving consumers, and how many times have we talked about that legislation that passed in 1994 and the Federal Reserve didn't do anything when it came to promulgating regulations that could have avoided the catastrophe with home mortgages. It was the major reason we saw the tumbling of our economy. This bill will address all of those issues to a large extent. Maybe not exactly as I'd write them, but as well as I can craft them here and build the support in the Senate to pass them. Okay?
Senator,
to get ahead of reconciliation, and how much does that potentially affect the process for you, and you lose any effort at bipartisan?
Well, as I say, all of these factors, there are a lot of issues out there, and certainly that's one we're all aware of. But it isn't the only thing, and to suggest somehow it's the only reason we're doing this. No, again, we're at a point where you can talk about a bill. We've had a lot of hearings, 52 hearings this year alone on this bill. I put down a proposal in November, a discussion draft, as I called it. Then a lot of discussions, trying to find someone who would work towards getting to a compromise proposal. Had been a lot of progress on that. The moment has arrived, put aside reconciliation and everything else, the moment has arrived to put down a proposal. And we want the outside interests as well to be able to react to something other than news stories and conversation by staff and members. They need something on paper. They can say, I like this, I don't like this, what does this mean, how does this work? And that only happens when you have a proposal on the table. And so the proposal is not just for my colleagues, but for others as well to react to. And that's why we need to put this out on Monday. Yes, sir.
Senator, what's the probability that you might split the bill apart in an effort to get the systemic risk and the too big to fail passed?
Oh, I can't. But we'd have to postpone the elections, I think, to do that. Because did I do this in pieces in the Senate, I think would be impossible. Yeah. Lastly, yeah.
Two pieces. The bill you introduced Monday, the draft, will it be what you've negotiated with Corker so far, or could it?
A lot of it will be. A lot of things are unanswered still, and I've had to reflect. I've got 22 members on the committee, almost a quarter of the Senate. So it isn't just two of us here. Obviously, we're dealing with a lot of members who have a lot of ideas and a lot of interests. And as chairman of the committee, I need to try and pull that together in a way that produces a consensus bill. And that means a consensus on all sides. So I'll try to report in that bill where I think there is consensus in the committee, Democrats and Republicans. And in areas where there's not, then we'll have to reflect something different. But that doesn't mean that's foreclosed the option of getting to a consensus on those issues.
And there seems to be a growing group of progressives who are very concerned about the direction this is taking. How concerned are you about holding on to your left lane?
Well, I guess it's a complicated institution, and so you got to deal with all sorts of people here to get something done.
But to what extent was this decision to end negotiations?
Oh, no. This was, I've been around in markups of bills for a long time. You got to put a proposal on the table. Again, every day I read a different story about what's in and what's out, and I began to realize, not even that aside, that you can't put a bill together that way. And so this will give you something to be able to actually report about what's in, what's not.
Senator, what you present, what's the price tag? What's the price tag of what you present?
Oh, the dollar amount. Well, I don't know if we've...
we don't have a CBO score yet.
Yeah, we don't have the CBO score. No. But I'd say this to you. Look, the price tag of doing nothing, I can guarantee you, is far more exorbitant than would be for what we're going to do here. If we can end the $700 billion, the bailing out firms that had an implicit guarantee from the federal government that they could never fail, that is something I'm determined to end. In the limited time I have left before I retire, I want that to end and never again read about an institution that reached that status that the American taxpayer had to pull their chestnuts out of the fire at the taxpayer expense. So that's critically important. Yes, Ted.
Senator, when do you have to get the bill out of the Senate?
Ted's a neighbor of mine, so I have to have Ted. Go ahead.
When does... When do you have to get a bill out of the Senate to leave time for a conference committee?
Ted, I don't know. That would be sometime, I hope. Again, don't hold me to these dates, but sometime this spring, because again, get into the summer in August. And Barney's worked hard, and weeks ago put a bill together. It was hard for him, even on the House rules, to get a bill, given the complexities. And so we're talking to his staff, obviously, and others to keep a track of what we're doing. And I just want to stay away from deadlines, again, on getting it out of the Senate.
Do you support Chairman Frank's proposal to have this a traditional conference and put it on C-SPAN?
I want it all night, all day, every camera you can find in that room. Thank you all.
Senator Dodd, do you anticipate including payday lending?
I'm sorry?
Margin lending. Do you anticipate including payday lending in Monday? Just wondering if that was going to be in there.